For all you Cub fans still grieving over your team's early exit from October baseball, just remember, it used to be a lot more painful. Remember Steve Bartman?
Now to a story of American sporting passion that's left a Chicago baseball fan in hiding, a whole city baying for his blood, and the return of a curse first laid 58 years ago by a fan with a goat.
Once there was a Cub fan, Steve Bartman was his name. Sitting on the third base line at that playoff game. And with those headphones on his ears, he looked like a geek to me. But he simply reached out his hand, and the Cubs were history.
Okay, Boomer.
Okay, Boomer. Okay, Boomer.
Okay, Boomer. Okay, Boomer. That Bartman ditty is one of thousands of creations produced by Wayne Faust. Wayne sings. He plays multiple instruments. He tells jokes. He writes songs. He creates music videos. He plays hockey, for heaven's sake, at the age of 70. He's an author of short stories and novels. He's Wayne Faust, a man who hasn't held a real job in 50 years. This is part 2 of our conversation about those 50 years. Okay, Boomer. Not all of your music is geared towards being humorous. You already mentioned the Back in Norwood Park song, and you have another one called My Father's Not the President. I listened and watched both of those videos and found those to be fascinating, just moving. You kind of speak through both of them, but the lyrics are just fantastic, very thought-provoking.
Well, thank you very much. And those two are actually a couple of the favorites of people. My Father's Not the President. I wrote that for him on his 70th birthday. He lived to 95. We lost him coming up here in October. It'll be 5 years ago now. But on his 70th birthday, they had a big party for him back in Chicago, and I flew in and I wrote that poem for him. And then he had it on his desk whenever I would come and visit him in Palatine. And I thought, I should put some music behind that. And there was this lady named Nancy Rumble. There was a duo, Tinkstad and Rumble, and they had these beautiful instrumental things. And they had this song called Deep in My Soul, and it just spoke to me. No, I'm sorry. That's the Norwood Park thing. I'm mixing up my songs. But hey,
it's been 50 years.
My Father's Not the President. I did a guitar background to it, and I started doing it in the show. And boy, the impact. I mean, I would see, a lot of men who had lost their fathers, especially, really got emotional, but they really liked it. And
My father's not the president. He's not a head of state, and I don't suppose the history books will rank him with the great. He didn't scramble to the top or win a test of might. He chose instead to spend his years coming home at night. My father's not the president. He never gave a speech, but he used to bend his neck down low so my small arms could reach. And when I would look up at him, he seemed to stand so tall. Now many years have come and gone, and that's not changed at all.
And then I did a video about him, and it was good because it's a tribute to him, and he lived for another 25 years, so it wasn't like after he died, I wrote it, he never got to hear it. So that one really has an impact. And then back to the Norwood Park song, and that's the one where I also wrote a poem about that. I was, it's going to sound funny, but I was driving across Kansas, which takes the best year of your life if you've ever done it. But Kansas and Nebraska, you know how long they are. But I was going to Missouri for one of my, normal shows in the summer. And I was going along, and there was a farmer burning leaves. And I got the smell in my car of the leaves burning in it. All of a sudden, I was back in Norwood Park when I was a kid, we used to be able to burn leaves in the fall. And, everybody would make big piles in the curb on the street, and the whole neighborhood would be we'd roast marshmallows and stuff, and it made me think of Norwood Park. So then I wrote that poem about Norwood Park. And then I said, I got to get music. And then I found that woman that had this song, Deep in My Soul. And I called her and asked permission to use it as the background music. Even after all these years, my memories still taste sweet. We had a canopy of elm trees over our heads that sheltered our little street. We played hide and seek at dusk. We climbed lampposts after dark. Summer lasted longer then, back in Norwood Park. It was always in September when we went back to school. We burned our leaves down at the curb when the nights got cool. How I loved to smell that autumn smoke as it drifted through the dark from 100 bonfires back in Norwood Park. And I do that one in my show too, and there's a lot of people that's pretty much speaks to anybody as far as nostalgia.
Yeah, all you got to do is take whatever your hometown is, whether it's Wakanda or Prophetstown, just insert that in place of Norwood Park, and you got a beautiful memory. Yeah, it does.
I had my son-in-law from Arizona. He was in his 20s, when I came out with that, and he goes, "Yeah, it makes me think of when I was a kid." And he grew up in Phoenix, so it's just. I think it's kind of universal. But back to the lyric thing, I've always loved words, ever since. Yeah. I always loved poems, and I love the rhythm of words, and I love the way words are put together. So writing songs, especially with, the folk genre, was all about listening. What are you singing about? Listening. Obviously, you want to have nice music too, but it's really about what you're trying to say and how you say it. And then especially with funny things, that's a whole nother art, because you have to develop an idea and you have to keep following it. And if you do the same thing over and over, they lose, so it's a whole different thing. But I've always loved words, and maybe talk about that in a little bit, but that's when I started writing fiction as well, because words are I just love the way words are put together, and I work real hard at it. You'd be surprised at how many some of the, like I'm schizophrenic, so there's some of the funny lines and stuff, how I play them for an audience, maybe that line's not really working, I go home and if you just turn one word around or one little phrase, and suddenly it works, and maybe it didn't before, it's actually, I'm pretty meticulous at when I write stuff.
And you mentioned that sometimes you use the word work, and I'm thinking, and sometimes it's the non-glamorous side of show business is hard work. I mean, let's talk about some of those things. Like somebody's got to book the gig, somebody's got to negotiate payments, somebody's got to collect the payments, somebody's got to set up the logistics of travel, hotels, vehicles, transporting stage props and gear, all the finances, keeping track. You mentioned earlier about what's tax deductible, all the fun of being self-employed. You got to provide your own insurance. You got to pay your taxes quarterly. You got to deal with your own retirement savings because nobody else is going to do that for you. What's that side of the life of being an entrepreneur like?
Yeah, and all of that's true. I mean, I really like that I've been pretty much responsible for everything. I haven't had an agent. Anytime I've worked with an agent, it's half the time it's disastrous. They book you at some place. Oh, you're going to love this bar, and then you're in the corner and nobody can see you. So I've always done my own stuff, and like when I go on the road, it's because I send myself on the road because I think it'd be good to play these places.
On the road again. Just can't wait to get on the road again.
But all of that stuff is all true. And to me, finding the gigs was always the least favorite thing. Because, boy, talk about rejection. You call a place, you're looking for anybody, you go in and talk to them. And then plus you have to keep track of who you talk to. And like when you're trying to sell songs or, trying to get them to publishers, you got to keep track of. In the old days, it was cassettes. You'd mail out cassettes to people. And, all of that stuff, it takes a whole bunch of time. And baseball players have said playing the game is a payoff for them, and it's all that other stuff that really is hard. And even today with my writing, with my books that I just came out with and stuff, and I'm thinking of, I'm going to do some advertising, and where do I need to go for that? So all of that is yeah, that's people never see that, and I always think of the guys when I was first starting out, and I literally played a folk club called the Barbarossa in Chicago on Lincoln Avenue, or just off Lincoln Avenue. And it was a real prestigious folk club. It was cool. It had a lit up stage and it was real intimate. Everybody listened to the songs. But I played from 9 till 4 in the morning. So what is that? What was that? 7 hours. And you would rotate shifts with another guy, but you were there till, and then if at 3 o'clock, if there was nobody there, then you could go home. But at 3 o'clock, the bar next door let out, and then you ended up to play another hour. But then I got paid $15. I mean, that's literally what I got, $15 for that. But I was learning my craft.
No.
But during those days, people, some guys go, well, you really need to get a real job. I mean, you can't support yourself doing that. And of course I did. And then I got that's the only place I ever played for $15, but I didn't get paid a lot of money, and then keeping it all busy when I got to LA and California. I was one of the few guys that actually made a living performing in clubs, even though I was getting $50 a night. I was doing all 6, 7, 8 shows a week and all of that. But juggling all of that in those days was really hard. I mean, the nice thing is when you get older, now I have these blocks of time of places that I play. I don't have to really hit the phones anymore like I did. And now I can just play where I want and not play where I don't want. But you're right. During my whole career, about the medical insurance, you're right. That was, boy, I tell you, we paid. My wife stayed home with the kids until my daughter started high school, and then she went back to work. But I shouldn't say that back to work because it's a lot of work raising the kids. But as we all know, but I was paying Blue Cross self-employed health insurance, paying through the nose, and it was $3,000 deductible. And of course, they didn't cover anything, but you had to have it. And then so all of those kind of things. It's great to be independent, great to be responsible, but I wasn't getting a regular paycheck, and but I had a passion for this, and I said, I'm going to make this work as a career, or I'm going to do something else, because a lot of guys, and God bless them, I mean, most of the musicians that play have regular jobs, and then they go out on the weekends. And I said, I'm going to make a career out of this if I can. So, yeah, I just decided that I wanted to, this is going to be my career if I can do it. Otherwise, I'll do something else. And so there was a lot that went into that. We lived in the mountains after a year in North Hollywood. We moved up to this little town called Wrightwood, and I would drive an hour and 40 minutes each way to do shows just because I wanted to get my family up out of the smog in LA. And the guy across the street up in Wrightwood, we were playing cards. I said, I got to go do a show. Oh, there's Wayne chasing a dollar again. Like, yeah, because I had to chase a dollar. I mean, I had to support my family. So, and again, the medical insurance was $3,000 deductible. Self-employed insurance, and they never really covered anything. So anytime we went to a doctor, I always had to pay for it. And so all of that stuff, that's all the things you don't see when somebody's on stage.
See, here I am on the road again. There I am up on the stage. Here I go, playing star again. There I go, turn the page.
So what kind of advice would you give a young person today? Because there are thousands of performers that would like to do what you've done, make a living. I mean, we're talking about musicians, stand-up comedians, ventriloquists, jugglers, magicians, anybody that's going to be on stage trying to entertain. What kind of a person does it take to do this, and what kind of advice would you give to someone who's thinking about trying to accomplish what you've done?
Well, I'll put in one quick plug. I wrote a book. Now it's getting, holy cow, 20 years ago. And I wrote a book called 30 Years Without a Real Job. And it actually has a lot of nuts and bolts in there. Of course, it's not updated for the internet and everything because this was before that. But it's on my website. They can get a copy of that. But the main thing is, I'd say go for it. I mean, if you really feel like you got something. I knew early on that, from the responses I was getting, I think I may have something here. So hopefully if they're performing and they have something like that where the people are starting to talk about you and you got something going. But but you have to really be dedicated. First of all, you have to show up for your gigs all the time. I can't tell you how many times I've known where somebody had a gig, and a real important gig, and I didn't feel like it today, and they didn't show up. So obviously, when you get hired for something, you got to go do it. But I mean, there's lots of different advice, but I would say that, and find something within your show, whatever it is. You could be a juggler, be whatever, but what do you have that's really kind of special? And sometimes you have to keep doing it until, okay, that really worked. That was really something. That song or that routine, that whatever that was, nobody else is doing that, and other people are telling their friends about it.
Yeah. Oh, you like the Swedish jokes, huh? Here's my favorite one. Lena was from Minnesota, and she was in the Olympics, the last Summer Olympics, and she was a swimmer doing the breaststroke, got last place, climbed out of the pool and said, I think the other women were using their arms.
And if you can start developing things like that, because there's a lot of guys, and there's nothing wrong with it. I'm not, criticizing, but they just play songs. They just go up there and I'm going to do this song, I'm going to do this song, and they do them fairly well. And that you can still get paid and do okay. But if you really want to try to get somewhere where you can actually do this as a career, you want to try to have something a little special, and only you will know what that is as you go along.
Very good. Very good. And there are sacrifices to be made along the way. You've had plenty of them yourself.
Yeah, and if you do start getting somewhere and you're traveling, because you almost have to travel some. You could be the neighborhood musician and have a decent career and play, but if you want to try to expand your reach, you have to go on the road some. And that was hard for me, because we got 3 kids and looking at our 11th grandchild in December. But it was hard for my wife, especially on the Sloppy Joe's ones. That was 6 weeks. But I set a limit early on, and that's why I was glad I didn't have an agent, because I could do that. I set a limit that I'm going to only travel 3 months a year when the kids were growing up, and I was able to stick to that. But it was still hard. I was on the road when my one kid hit a grand slam home run in Little League, and my wife was taking movies, and there was a dust storm, and she turned the camera off, so I didn't get to see it. So, so there's things I missed, and it was hard on the kids, I know, when I was away. So I had to juggle that. But any father or even mother that wants to have a decent career, and if you work for a business and they want to send you on the road for something, you kind of got to do it and then balance it and try to find the best way you can still be a good father. So, but yeah, as far as back to the advice for starting, I'd say give it a shot. That's the first thing I would say is say this can be done. People do it all the time. There's a lot of people like me that the average person hasn't heard of, and they've made good careers out of it. But you have to love it, because a lot of people are going to go through that. They'll go on stage in some place where nobody's paying attention, and a lot of people say, I'm not going to do that. That's too hard. So you have to decide how much you want it.
So you've loved it for 50 years, and you alluded earlier to this very special concert you got coming up in Chicagoland. It's Saturday, November 22nd, 6:30 p.m. It's in Des Plaines. I don't have the venue. Did you mention?
It's the Elks Lodge. Elks Lodge in Des Plaines. The Elks, it's right on, I think it's on River Road. I don't have the address in front of me, but it's on my website. They can find it. But it's a nice banquet room downstairs. And it's really old home week for me. There's people that have seen me for a long time. I used to do it every year. Now I didn't do it last year. It's a lot of work to put it together and to come in for it. And I don't have much family left in Chicago anymore. But this should be a really good one. Hopefully a lot of the people that have sang with me over the years and guests and stuff, hope a lot of them will show up. I haven't worked on the details too much yet, but it's always, I usually do a 3-hour thing, and it's like, man, I have enough stuff for 2 more hours. I never get to everything that I want. I write songs about Chicago, and I have Cubs songs and White Sox songs and all these things, and I try to get to all of those.
Yeah.
And plus my usual stuff, and then plus stuff I made up. I've made up songs like an hour before going on stage because there's something funny on the news about what's going on with Chicago politics, and I make up a song and do it that night. So,
can we expect A Sky of Cubby Blue to be played?
Did what?
would you be playing A Sky of Cubby Blue? That was a song I saw on your website.
Yeah, that one gets to people. They can find that one on the YouTube video.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that came up is, I lost a brother. My older brother was my brother Tom, same name as you. When he got out of Northwestern Dental School, he went up to Canada with his wife for a delayed honeymoon, and he fell into a waterfall, and I lost him then. And he was a huge White Sox fan. We grew up watching the White Sox. So in 2005, when the White Sox finally won the World Series, one of the things I did when I was back in Chicago is I got a White Sox hat and I went and put it on his grave.
Cool.
And so when the Cubs won, I figured there's going to be millions of people that the first thing we're going to think of is the people that they lost, and I wish they could have been here to see this. And so I wrote a song called "The Sky of Cubby Blue."
I cursed and crossed my fingers all through that Cleveland night. I prayed throughout the rain delay that things would turn out right. When the final out was made, I didn't know what to do. So I danced and cheered and then I cried because I thought of you. I wish you were here to see it as the parade came passing through. 5 million cheering Cub fans under a sky of Cubby Blue.
And about the 5 million screaming Cub fans, but the first thing I thought of you is what I said, and there's a video of it that I put together. But you see some Cub fans with tears when I play that one.
Oh heck yeah! Yeah, if you're a Cub fan, you're gonna love that song. It's got good video in it of the crowds during the parade after they'd won the World Series.
Yep.
5 million cheering Cub fans under a sky of Cubby Blue.
Hi. You want to hear more of that? Then you got to go to WayneFaust.com.
So that's well done. It's good stuff.
Hey, let's take this opportunity right here to hear from our sponsors, okay? Brief message coming up.
Around P-Town, it's got the news that you can use. Around P-Town. RoundPtown.com. It's got the scoop with all the poop.
Ben's Barbershop. It's a place I like to stop. Whether it's to get a fancy do or just buzz off my mop. Ben's Barbershop. It's a place I like a lot. And you'd like it too if you did your do at Ben's Barbershop. That's Ben's Barbershop in Morrison, Illinois. Look 'em up on Facebook. Make an appointment. Tell 'em Jimmy on the doofus sent you.
So what else you got? You got the buck snort going on here tomorrow night, and what else is on your agenda in the near future?
After the long 7 weeks, I keep it pretty light, and then I do private things. I got some corporate things coming up. People hire me for corporate Christmas parties and things like that. That's a piece of cake for me because sometimes I'll fly in and pay a lot of money and get filet mignon for dinner, and I play for an hour.
Nice.
That's all I got to do. But so I do those kind of things. But I'm at that stage where I can just really pick my spots, and then so I got my real busy summer, and whatever comes up. The rest of the year, I don't do nearly as many shows. There was a while I was doing 250 shows a year, but now I do probably about 70.
Wow.
So, which is good enough for me.
Good for you. Good for you. So if people want to see you, certainly you play in every art. I think you got 2 separate gigs in the Ozarks. Don't you 2 separate times you play or not?
It's the same. It's the same weeks every year now.
Okay.
I do 2 weeks first 2 weeks of June, then I come home for 3 weeks, and then right after the 4th of July, I go back for 5 weeks, and it's 4 days at Shady Gators, Monday through Thursday, and then Saturday afternoon at a place called Naughty Fish, which is a real nice place right on the lake, and that's pretty much that. Suits me well. 35 shows, and in the heat and the humidity, and I get to come home.
There's lots of people listening that do go to the Ozarks. So look up Wayne Faust, and if you want to check his schedule, how do they search for your website?
WayneFaust.com. So WayneFaust.com. And I've got another website. Did you have a minute to talk about my books?
Yes.
Yeah, I've been writing stories. I'll try to give you the, in a nutshell. About 20 years ago, I love science fiction and speculative, like Twilight Zone stories, those kind of things. I love that show.
You unlock this door with the key of imagination. Beyond it is another dimension. A dimension of sound. A dimension of sight. A dimension of mind. You're moving into a land of both shadow and substance, of things and ideas. You've just crossed over into the Twilight Zone.
And then so about 20 years ago, I'm on the road. I got a lot of time on the road because you're doing a show at night and then the rest of the day you're hanging around. And so I started writing short stories, got a lot of rejections, and all of a sudden I started getting them published. So I had 50 short stories published, plus that book, 30 Years Without a Real Job. I did a book of Christian parables, like short stories, Christian, that got published down in Florida. But I finally came out with like a trilogy. It's a science fiction trilogy called Calyx Tale, and it's doing real well. It came out a year ago, and it's 3 books. But I've been getting lots of really good comments, and we sold quite a few of them. And it's on Amazon and Google Play, and then my favorite narrator, because they do some stories on stage here in Denver, and they've done a lot of mine. In fact, in June they did a whole night of just my stories where they act them out or stage readings, they call it. But my favorite narrator, Guy Williams, had done some of my stuff, one on the radio at Halloween time.
Nice.
And so I hired him to come up to my studio and record the audiobooks, and he does a wonderful job. So all 3 of those books are on Spotify. If you have Spotify Premium, you can listen to those audiobooks. But otherwise, they're on Audible and Google Play and all of those. But the way to find out about that is I have another website called WayneFaustAuthor.com. So it's WayneFaust author AUTHOR.com, and then it lists all my books and where you can get them, and it doesn't list all the places you can get them because they're pretty much everywhere, but they're all the main ones, and they're in some libraries now and everything. So, again, I love words, and this trilogy is doing really well. I wrote it probably over 10 years. So I spent a lot of time getting it just the way I wanted to. And people have been really relating to the story. So it's kind of a post-apocalyptic. I played on Mackinac Island one whole summer at Mission Point Resort.
Fudge, fudge, everywhere fudge. Mackinac Island's got a whole lot of fudge. They eat it in the morning, noon, and night. It makes your pants get tight. Little bitty island called Mackinac, prettiest place that you ever saw. They got no car, so you gotta ride a bike. If your legs are strong, you can take a hike. But a horse and buggy's what tourists like, and they all pig out on fudge. Fudge, fudge, everywhere fudge. Mackinac Island's got a whole lot of fudge. They eat it in the morning, noon, and night. It makes your pants get tight.
And so the premise is it's an island on the Great Lakes. It's not Mackinac, but it's like that.
Mm-hmm.
And they're very primitive. They don't have electricity, and they have horse and buggies, and sort of that was all inspired by Mackinac. And then, but something happened on the mainland. You don't know what. And then, it's some sort of apocalypse. And then there's a kind of a cult leader kind of guy who runs the island. His name is Hezekiah. And then there's a young boy who's 12, and he invents things and does all these things. So he starts getting in a lot of trouble. And so the whole trilogy is built around that. And what really happened on the mainland, and what is life like on the island. So it's been doing real well.
Great. That sounds like a lot of fun. And trilogies are one way to make money. If you can get that first book sold and get people invested in the story, that's awesome. This is from the prologue of Calyx Tale. A storm was coming. It threatened to crash ashore and shatter Calyx's life forever. The first warning came on the day his father hit him, for the first and only time. Calyx's father wasn't the kind of man to strike his only child. In fact, Josiah the painter was a gentle, melancholy artist. His wife had died giving birth to Kalek, leaving Josiah with just his work, his modest cottage, and an only son to keep him company. Kalek's talent was to divine how things worked, and more importantly, how they could work if done in a completely new way. Sometimes his ideas were breathtaking. Kalek said, "If I could build a carriage that was light enough, and I put big enough wings on top, and then I found a way to make it go forward fast enough, I think I could make a carriage that flies." That's when Josiah turned on Kalek as quick as a snake and slapped his cheek. "Don't ever speak like that again," shouted Josiah. "Never! Do you understand?" Kalek swiped at his face with his sleeve. The cool breeze dried his tears. He looked up into his father's brown eyes, which were darting left and right like a frightened deer, and this shocked Kalek nearly as much as being slapped, because it seemed to him that his father was never afraid. "Okay, Father," mumbled Kalek. Kalek's mind churned as they walked. His cheek still stung, and of course his pride was hurt as well. But mainly, Kalek's mind had already moved on. Without even being aware of the change, he had turned his thoughts back to the problem of how to make a carriage that would fly.
You want to hear more of that? Then you got to go to WayneFaustAuthor.com. Enjoy. He'll pluck it for you. He'll sing it for you. He can write it for you. The guy's amazing. Amazing. Good stuff. You want to hear more of that? Then you got to go to WayneFaustAuthor.com. Enjoy. Hey, Wayne, do you paint?
Do I what?
Paint?
Oh, no, I'm just the opposite. You know, people talk about talent, like, how can you do that stuff and everything? I said, well, you should see me try to draw a picture. You think I was in second grade. So, yeah, and I don't have any sense of direction. You know, I'm the guy who walks into the mall, and you know how you go in the mall and you turn right to use the men's room, and then you come out, and I'm going to go around the mall and see the rest of the stores. When I come out of the restroom, I'll turn left and take about 5 steps and go, wait a minute, I was going the other way. So if you're ever lost in the woods with me, and then there's a fork, and I say go to the left, you want to go to the right. So I don't have a sense of direction, and I'm not talented at all when it comes to drawing. So if I love people that can paint. It's like, how do you do that? And so they say that to me when they play music. It's like, how do you do that? So something I can do, I guess.
All right. Well, it's nice to know that even you have limitations. Hey, Wayne, this has been a lot of fun speaking with you. And is there anything else we need to cover before we say goodbye?
I think that'll about do it. I really appreciate you finding me, and
it's been a pleasure.
And it's always good to, I love talking to people on the radio or on the phone or on podcasts, and it's always a good time.
Well, it's always fun.
That your stories getting out there.
I've talked to several people like you, a stand-up comedian who most people wouldn't know, and he was from the Vernon Hills area in the far northwest suburbs. I've talked with other people like him that are making a living, entertaining people, and working hard at it and having fun. It's just fun. It's fascinating to learn about your craft and how you do it. And we certainly hope that we've helped in some small way to broaden your audience and get people to go to your website, WayneFaust.com. And Faust, it's Faust. I keep saying Faust.
It's Faust, yeah.
It's Faust. Wayne is normal spelling, WayneFaust.com. And then there's the author site, the WayneFaustAuthor.com, for if you want to check out the books. So do that, and you can find his schedule. You'll know when he's going to be down there in the Ozarks, whether or not you can pick him up and then see him there, or he's in Colorado performing also. And all the other places that he'll be at are going to be on that website. So check out Wayne Faust. You're going to enjoy him.
Well, that's great, Tom. I sure appreciate you giving me the time. And it's fun talking to you. I enjoy your podcast. I was listening to it this morning before you called. So you have some good stuff, especially the baby boomer thing. Okay, boomer. I've heard it a few times. We're certainly guilty of that, being us boomers.
Yeah,
except for Jimmy. I'm sure he's way cooler than the rest of us.
I like to think so, but you never know.
All right. Well, again, thank you. And we'll hopefully be able to talk to you again before too long. And stay healthy and safe on that on the ice, okay?
Yeah. It's I still got my teeth, so I'm doing okay.
All right. May not have my hair, but I got my teeth. Okay, I like it.
There you go. Yeah. Otherwise, I'd look like I'm from Arkansas. So that's all.
All right, sir. You take care of yourself, and thanks again.
Thanks so much, Tom.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, Boomer.
It's always fun talking to people who make a living doing what they love, especially when they're entertaining other people and spreading joy like Wayne does. You want more of Wayne? It's out there for you to get it. Go get some at waynefaust.com. That's WayneFaust.com. And if you want to, that's for his music. If you want to check out his books, then go to WayneFaustAuthor.com. And for all my Chicago peeps, Wayne will never be closer than what he will be next month, November 22nd, in Elk Grove Village. He's doing his big anniversary show. You don't want to miss it. Go to his website, WayneFaust.com. Get all the details there. There's a lot to explore, a lot to enjoy. We'll see you next time.
Shut up! And kids, don't forget to be checking in with AroundPtown.com. It's got all the news that you can use. Stay hip, stay classy with AroundPtown.com. And for you fellas that want that hip and classy look, well, then you're going to want to get your butt to Ben's Barbershop chair. That's right, Ben's Barbershop. Look him up on Facebook.com. He's in Morrison. You make an appointment, you're going to love it. If you enjoyed listening to Boomer here, he'd appreciate it if you'd subscribe to his podcast so you'd get notifications of when the next episode's coming up. Maybe leave a rating and a review. But yeah, go ahead and subscribe. That helps the podcast grow, and it makes the little fella feel so much better. And if you have any feedback for him, go ahead and contact him at ttaudioworks@gmail.com. Again, that's ttaudioworks@gmail.com. Okay, I'll see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.